This past fall, Jacques was one of 2 Blue Jays recognized by Gambit Weekly for having a positive impact on the city. In his story, hopefully, you will be able to identify your personal moments of awareness and impulses that may shape your future. Please welcome from the class of 2003, Jacques Hebert.
Thank you, Mr. Grau, and good morning. It's wonderful to be back at Carrollton and Banks, where I hope the shepherd's pie is as good as ever. That's me, likely after having some shepherd's pie. Ooh, there we go. All right, in my career, I've given speeches, but never to a group of high school students. I seriously thought about giving this speech solely in memes, but I figured your teachers might expect more of me. So that's the last meme for now. After I leave this morning, I will head back to my office on Canal Street in North Cortez, where I have a direct view of Jesuit from my window. When I was in your position, I could have never imagined that I would be here today speaking to you and working so close to Jesuit, where I had spent so much time thinking about and preparing for my future career. I loved every moment of my Jesuit experience, from the incredible teachers who inspired me and taught me the joy of learning, to friends, some of whom more than 15 years after graduating, I still speak to almost daily. I credit the education I received here and the values instilled in me to live a life dedicated to the service of others with the success I've had in my career. Let's see. All right. You get the point. All right. Choosing a career can seem really stressful. The good news, however, is that you don't have to choose a career right now, and you don't have to choose a career forever. It used to be that a person chose one vocation and made that their life's work. My grandfather worked for the same oil company for over 40 years. Can you imagine doing the same job for 40 years? I can't. Luckily, it doesn't have to be like that anymore. These days, it's much less common to stick to one position or even one career for your entire life. Careers have become like jungle gyms. There's more movement and flexibility. You might work for one company for a few years, then move on to another company for a few years, and then another. Along the way, you'll learn new skills and make new connections. One thing you might also notice right now is that there are a lot of people who have opinions about what your career path should be. If your families are as well-intentioned as mine were, they have likely told you all the great careers you should consider. My grandmother insisted I would be a doctor, largely due to my poor penmanship. My mother was convinced I would be a lawyer who might go on to become president of the United States. No pressure, right? And even English teachers at Jesuit, well, they encouraged me to write. While I appreciated their support, I came to learn that I was the only one in control of what path I chose, just as you are the only one in control of the path you choose. You'll have to learn to block out the voices that might be distracting you from the one voice that matters the most, your own. You might also be sitting there today with no idea what you want to do for a career. Don't worry. When I was in your shoes, I didn't have a clear understanding of what I wanted to be either. So I committed to taking it one step at a time and doing the best I could with each step. First step, college. I knew I wanted to experience something completely different, so I applied to schools out of state. I was fortunate enough to be accepted to Dartmouth College in Hanover, New Hampshire, a snowy New England college town surrounded by rolling hills and pine forests. It couldn't have been more different than Louisiana. I decided to double major in Spanish and Latin American studies, majors that had some in my family questioning, what are you going to do with that? I don't know, I said, anything. In addition to learning to ski and surviving 4 New England winters, Dartmouth opened my eyes to an entirely new world of possibilities. Step 2, employment. After graduating from Dartmouth, I still had no clear understanding of what I wanted to do. So I applied everywhere, literally everywhere. From a paralegal job at a big New York City law firm to a marketing associate position for a toy company. Eventually, I was hired as an advertising associate at Google, where it was my job to help businesses market themselves online. I remember my grandparents' reaction when I told them what I would be doing. Google? What's a Google? They said. When my friends saw pictures of my office, they would ask, are you working at a business or a daycare? No doubt, Google was unlike any place I could have ever imagined when I was growing up. Let's see. Free food at gourmet restaurants across the sprawling campus, not to mention all the snacks and beverages you could ever want. On-campus gyms, pools and company masseuses, office talent shows, visits by celebrities, slides in the middle of the office building, company ski trips and holiday parties. It was, to put it mildly, quite the interesting place to start a career. That's my former boss, Chris, on the slide. Ooh. After a few years, though, my interest changed. So I applied for a position on the corporate communications team working for YouTube, which is owned by Google. At the time, YouTube was mostly known for videos of cats playing pianos, but it was quickly becoming an entertainment hub, competing with big TV networks for eyeballs and ad dollars. Now, it was my job to work with journalists to tell stories of people earning money and building careers on YouTube by uploading videos. People like Sal Khan, who uploaded instructional math and science videos to tutor his niece and nephew who lived across the country. His videos went on to receive more than 1 billion views and became so popular that he founded Khan Academy, that has reached hundreds of millions of people around the world. I loved my job at YouTube and was incredibly appreciative of being on the cutting edge of media and technology. But after another few years, my interest changed again. That voice inside me kept getting louder and louder. I was ready for something different. But how could I leave the company that was continuously rated the #1 best place to work in the entire world? How could I survive without the plethora of free food and massages? How would my family react when they learned I wanted to walk away from a company whose stock price kept going up? It was an incredible amount of pressure. And for a while, I let those voices win. But eventually, that voice inside me grew louder and louder. I wanted to do something different, something mission-driven, and something more focused on helping others. I also wanted to continue to learn and grow. Since I had been pitching stories to journalists, I figured, why not be among them? So, to the shock of my family and friends, I left Google and all its perks, including that awesome slide, to run communications for a nonprofit news organization in San Francisco called Mother Jones. I went from being on a communications team to running a communications team of one person, which was a lot of responsibility. But I woke up every day inspired and motivated by the impact my organization was having on the world, a feeling that made it easier to manage the withdrawals of the food and the office talent shows. For 2.5 years, all was going well. Then that inner voice started talking again, except this time, it wasn't calling me to a specific job. It was calling me to a specific place, home. By this point, I had been outside of Louisiana for 10 years, and the call home was deafening. It wasn't just a call home, but a call home with a purpose. You see, I failed to mention that in the time between Jesuit and my first job at Google, my home, and in turn my life, had changed dramatically. While I was on a summer term my sophomore year at Dartmouth, Hurricane Katrina hit. I know not everyone here today was alive when that storm happened, but I'm sure you've all heard about it. It was devastating. My childhood home and my grandparents' homes were completely destroyed. Jesuit was flooded. The future of our city and our region were uncertain. The values Jesuit instilled in me wouldn't let me sit idly by while my state suffered. So I worked to mobilize over 200 students and 20 relief trips to travel from Dartmouth to the Gulf Coast and volunteer to help the region recover. The immense pride, humility, and gratitude I felt in this experience and the love of giving back to my community in Louisiana would stick with me, and it was what was calling me home from San Francisco. Much of the damage caused by Katrina was due to the fact that our coast, our barrier islands, our wetlands, and marshes that once protected us from storms and flooding has been rapidly disappearing at a rate of a football field of land every hour. The thought of a place I loved so dearly disappearing and more people being forced to go through what so many families went through in Katrina The thought of a world without New Orleans, suddenly that path that had been so unclear for so long became crystal clear. I would return home and work to protect a place and people that was so precious. Thankfully, my experiences from organizing Dartmouth service trips to marketing products online to working with journalists to tell stories made me the perfect fit for the job I have now. Communications director with the National Environmental Organization working to restore coastal Louisiana. Now, 4 years later, I consider myself to have a dream job, working to communicate the importance of Louisiana's coast, its people, wildlife, and jobs, and why restoring and protecting it are so important. Let's see. Not just to those here in Louisiana, but to those around the world. I have no typical day. One day, I'm taking national journalists out on a seaplane flight over coastal Louisiana or on airboats to some of the barrier islands and marshes that are being restored. And the next, I'm producing my weekly radio show, or 360 videos, and ads for the Super Bowl. More on that in a moment. Even though the work is challenging, I try to remain hopeful, to have faith, and do whatever is in my power to make a difference by bringing the best of myself to my job every day. In looking out at all of you today, I am even more hopeful. One of you may be the scientist or engineer that helps find a solution to Louisiana's land loss crisis. I certainly hope so. This is a pilot that I fly with. He likes to play that joke. The book says, "Flying for Dummies." Whether you stay in Louisiana or choose to live elsewhere, know that Louisiana needs you. If you do want to stay in Louisiana and work on coastal restoration and protection, know that you will be working on the most important issues facing our state that affects millions of people, not just here, but around the world. There are and will be jobs for scientists, engineers, contractors, planners, designers, communications and outreach specialists, journalists and photographers, educators, and so many other jobs that will develop as our state and many other places around the world work to confront these challenges in the years and decades ahead. More just, I like to go out on boats and planes a lot if you haven't gotten that from the slides. With the challenge comes opportunity, and the education you are receiving today based in empathy and being men for others will suit you well to confront these and other challenges head on. The work being done on our coast is about your future and the future of your families. On that note, I'd like to share with you an ad that I produced that will run locally during the Super Bowl. I know. We did the ad not knowing our saints would be robbed, but that's another lesson to expect the unexpected, not let it stop you, and still make the most of the opportunity. So let's see if we can get this ad up. I'm excited for more people to see the ad and hear from these amazing kids. And it is running locally during the Super Bowl, so whether you boycott it or not, still watch it online, share it, and then it'll be running for 6 weeks after the Super Bowl. So it's not just about the Super Bowl, even though I know a lot of us are not excited to watch it. So I will say, you are very fortunate to be sitting in your position. Not just where you are, but at the moment you're sitting there. So much has evolved so quickly. Believe it or not, we didn't have cell phones when I was at Jesuit. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Snapchat didn't exist. I could have never imagined that in my job, I would produce a video that would allow people to take a virtual tour of Louisiana's coast by wearing 360 headsets. You have at your disposal technologies and platforms that have made us more connected than ever. You have no idea of the technologies and advancements that will occur in your careers and lifetimes. Be open to these advancements and stay ahead of the curve, and people will look to you for your leadership and guidance. On that note, I will leave you with one thought. Never forget or underestimate the critical importance of human interaction, of direct and real conversations, of listening, and especially of kindness and empathy. While all these technologies and platforms are making us more connected, we've also at times forgotten the real value of human connection. Use technology as a tool to be more effective in your lives and in your jobs. Don't allow it to become a barrier preventing you from being a part of the world. And lastly, in your career and in your lives, never underestimate the importance of kindness, of treating others with respect and dignity, and of empathy to all. As you graduate and depart Carrollton and Banks, you will encounter a world of people from all different walks of lives and background, with different viewpoints and perspectives and stories. Focus on the qualities that unite us rather than what divides us, and truly be a man for others, no matter who the other might be. People will recognize, remember, and respect you as a man for others, and you will be rewarded in kind. As for me, I recognize I am still relatively early in my career, and there's very well more changes, challenges, and opportunities to come. There are paths I haven't ventured down yet, but one day I will. I just need to remember not to ignore that voice that has guided me pretty well so far. So whether you're moving forward on your career path, or you're working your way across a career jungle gym, understand what is motivating you, and don't discount your own voice guiding you along the way. Take the time to enjoy the journey, and if you are fortunate enough to know what your calling is and understand the path to get there, then by all means, work as hard as you can to get there, and don't stop. Working every day to grow and evolve and be even better than the day before. Achieving the career you want is not the end of the journey, it's the beginning. No change is inevitable, and challenges will come, but it's how you respond that will determine your success. And more than anything, be kind. Thank you.